Hello, my name is Lacon and welcome to my channel. I hope you are having a fantastically whimsical day, and if not, hopefully this video makes your day just a little bit better. I am super excited for today's video because we are continuing on with our ABC reading challenge, and we're gonna be picking some books that start with the letter C from my TBR. And hopefully those books that we find are gonna be 5 stars. So I've got my cup here, my trusty mug, and inside of it, as you can see, we have a whole bunch of books that are from my TBR that I have current access to, either through my library, well, actually all through my library. But whether that be a physical book or an audiobook version of it. Surprisingly, no ebook versions, which is very interesting, but that's fine. That is fine. We're gonna pick 4 books out of here and see what it gives us. Okay, I've mixed it up real well. You're just gonna have to trust. And I'm gonna have to trust that I mixed it up real well. Because looking at it, it doesn't actually look like it's that mixed up. I don't know. They're all clumped together. So, we'll see. Okay, the first book is The Children of Red Peak by DiLouie. I'm super excited about this. I've read one other book by this author. I can't remember the name, but it's about like children.
Boom. A child. No.
And they're like vampires, sort of. And oh, I still think about that book. Oh my goodness. One of the best books I've ever read. So hopefully The Children of Red Peak is just as good. Book number 2 is Crying in H Mart by Zauner. Hopefully I said that right. Obviously I'm excited about this one as well. If it's on my TBR, we can assume that there's some level of excitement to it, but so far, like, both of these have been like pretty, as I was like going through all the books, these were some of the ones that I was like, ooh, that would be a really good one to get. Hopefully the other 2 aren't misses, but if they are, we have 2 hits. So, you know, we can have some duds. But I would prefer all 4 to be hits. So let's see what our third one is. Okay, third one. A Clash of Steel by C.B. Lee. I think this is a retelling. Let me see if I can read the tiny book cover. Yes, it says a Treasure Island retelling. I'll put it up on the screen and you will see it better than I can, but I've never read the original, like, Treasure Island. I love Treasure Planet. That's the excitement I'm going off of. The excitement of loving Jim Hawkins and Captain Amelia. And then for our final book, it is Counterfeit by Kirstin Chen. I'm holding these up tiny book covers up to you when I know I'm gonna have the big one up here. I'm actually super duper excited about all 4 of these. I think we are gonna get 4 hits. I'm really confident with how this is gonna turn out. This is so good. I guess all that's left is for us to actually read them to see if my excitement holds true, but I think this is probably the most excited I've been out of any of the ABC TBRs so far. Like, I've had books that I've like wanted to read on the A TBR and the B TBR, but this one, like, it's all 4 of them that I was like, ooh, I really want to read them. So hopefully they don't disappoint me. But I will check back in with you when we start officially reading. Okay, so we're about 44% of the way through the book, which it's like, I believe 5 hours. So we've listened to a good chunk, but we're still we just now got on the boat to go on the adventure. And like, so we've just now got out of what is covered in the synopsis, which like, I guess is fine. It's just, that's a lot of time before the adventure, and I don't know, I'm just kind of bored. I could put it down and not pick it back up, and I'd be fine. But I'm also not forcing myself to listen to it either. I don't know, it's just very kind of boring, you know? Not really thinking much of it. It's not awful to listen to, like it's, like if it was boring and it was not fun to listen to, I'd DNF it, even if it is for a challenge. But it's not bad. It's just, I don't know. We keep talking about this adventure and how we want to go on it and all this stuff, but like, we're not halfway through the book, but we're still a good ways into the book. I don't know. I don't know what I was wanting from this book or like expecting. But so far it wasn't this. So hopefully it like picks up. So we'll see. So, not gonna do any spoilers, but the twist, I saw it coming, but it was still super enjoyable to read. I loved how it came together and the reactions of everyone. Like, even though I saw it coming, the characters did not see it coming, and it was really enjoyable having them figure it out. And it wasn't like the type of twist where like the book tells you. It was just, you know, vibes and like being like, oh yeah, this would make sense for what's happening, with how like some things being foreshadowed and things like that, or like being laid out. Maybe it's just the types of books I read, but I don't think it's a bad thing if I can predict the twist, but I do still like to enjoy it, even if I know it's happening. But we're getting more and more of our main character's relationship with her mom, and it's like toxic. Her mom just views her as a like just an item. something to own, something else to have in her possession. And like, we kind of saw this at the beginning whenever the mom had essentially just like left her daughter in this small town and like came back every once in a while, but then expected the daughter to be like act a certain way and behave a certain way whenever she was there and things like that. And just kind of like it felt in the beginning like she was like trotting her out to like do little tricks and be like, hey, I'm interested in looking like a mom right now, so let's bring you out. But as it's gone on, it's more and more blatant that is their relationship, which is always so sad, especially because she's like throughout the book has just been like talking so much about wanting to make her mom proud and yearning and wanting to prove herself to her mom. And I mean, that's one of the main reasons she went on this adventure. But like, her mom doesn't want that. Her mom just wants her to be a little puppet, a pretty thing to put on a shelf and to claim that she has. Ugh, it's so sad. And then the romance in this book, it's sweet, but it's not all that believable. Like, I believe that they like each other, but it's hard to believe that they're each other's like forever partner. It just kind of feels like it's like the beginnings of something, and yet they're trying to convince us that they have a deep love for each other. And I don't know, we're just not seeing much of it. And maybe that's because this book isn't a romance book. I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna have a romance plot, you still kind of need to make it believable. But it's not, I'm not gonna dock points on the book so far. Like, I'm not actually bothered by it. Mainly because it's not a romance book. This book is about adventure. And we've definitely gotten more adventure than the last time I updated you. We've definitely gotten more adventure. So, like, I'm glad I didn't DNF the book. Because I think I said that I was like, you know, I could put it down and not be bothered by it. I'm glad I haven't DNF'd it. It has been a decently enjoyable read. It's just, you know, I'm glad I've read it and I've got it off my TBR, but it's not gonna be a book that I really talk about much more after this, which is a bummer because the cover is really pretty and I would love to have that cover on my shelves. I mean, I guess I still could. I could put it on my trophy bookshelf. They'll be like, oh, these are all the books that you've loved. Yes, except for these. This category is for books that I just thought had super beautiful covers. But the stories were just fine. So I've finished Clash of Steel, and it was fine. I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. I am glad that I didn't DNF it. It was an enjoyable story, but it just wasn't, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I was wanting from this book. This just wasn't it. At the end of it, it talked about how this book was based off of like a real pirate and how she was feared and like had like tons of fleets, tons of crews, and like was just the Red Dragon essentially was based off of this real pirate. And I'm super interested to know more about her. So I guess if anything, this book sparked some curiosity for me for some real life learning, but I don't know. The end with how they kind of defeat everyone and is a little confusing because I don't understand. I feel like I missed part of it. Specifically within the scene at the end when the water's rising and things like that and people get trapped
It was a little confusing. It didn't exactly make sense to me, but I feel like I might have missed something. I don't know. But yeah, it was just, books like this are super hard to review because I didn't hate them, but I also didn't love them. And it's like, it's a fine book. I'm glad I read it, you know, but I wasn't like I just can't nail down any sort of emotions with this type of book. Which I don't know if I would rather have a bunch of these or not, which sometimes I feel like I have a lot of these types of books, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But I think just with how I read and how I add stuff to my TBR and things like that, I feel like it is inevitable because I just oftentimes just put things on my TBR based off of someone else said something, or the cover looks cool, or the title intrigues me. But I don't do a lot of, I don't really read synopsises all that much. The only time I'll read the synopsis is to like essentially be like, okay, what can and can't I spoil or talk about whenever we're discussing a book. So that way I don't accidentally spoil it. But either way, we're done with Clash of Steel, and now it's time to move on to the next book, and which the next book is going to be Children of Red Peak by Craig DiLouie, and we're totally switching up genres. The last book that I read from him, I absolutely loved. Like, it was a 5-star read. I still think about it all the time. It's probably one of my favorite books of all time. So hopefully we get that magic back with this one. So I have high hopes for this book. So we'll see if it holds up.
Okay, so I've started Children of Red Peak. Just like an hour and a half into it. So all we're doing is getting the lay of the land, really. So what's happened in this book, or the premise of this book essentially, is when our main character was a child, he was a part of a cult, and a religious cult. And the cult, something ended up happening, and they, all drank the Kool-Aid and went bye-bye. And so apparently some weird things happened the night that everything went down. And only 5 kids survived. And now it's been years later. They're like in their 30s. And they don't keep in contact, but they've all met up. Or at least 3 of them met up, because one of them, this girl named Callie, sent a letter to all of them saying that she couldn't handle it anymore. And she ended up, they were all meeting up at her funeral after they received this letter from her. And with it being the 15-year anniversary of everything that went down, some of them are like, we should go back. And others are like, I don't want to bring up any of this stuff. I don't want to talk about any of this.
I want to go back to my regular life and forget this ever happened, just like I've been doing for my entire life. So I love a good religious trauma story, and especially this religious cult. Super excited. And again, I have such high hopes for this book. We'll see if it holds up. Right?
I am 44% of the way through Children of Red Peak, and I don't want to put it down. This is exactly what I was wanting. I don't want to put it down. We're following a couple different children, but like it's going back and forth between like their current day and then like them as children. And when they're in the children, specifically POV, I'm getting confused about who's who. Specifically between the two boys, I keep getting them mixed up on who's the new one into the group, who's the old one, and who they both grow up to be. So hopefully that gets easier. But also, one of the adults is a psychiatrist, one of those, and that is what I feel like. Excuse me. I feel like I am trying to I feel like I'm sitting there like, yes, tell me more about your trauma. Tell me more about it. Let's figure this out. Tell me exactly what happened. You can't fully remember what happened. Let's figure it out. So that way I can know. And that way I can properly diagnose you. But I kind of feel that way every time there's like a book that has like, you know, they have a trauma from their past and they're kind of like reliving it, and things are coming up in the present that, you know, deal with that past. Religious trauma, it's not something, you look so mad. Religious trauma, it's not something to trifle with, but it's making a really good story. So I'm gonna get back to reading it. Okay, I'm 53% of the way through the book, and a new cult just got introduced. But this cult, oh my goodness. One of the characters, he tries to like get people out of cults. That's what he does. And so this group lied, saying, hey, we want your help getting him out. But they really set it up so that way it was the character who usually gets people out of cults. I can't remember his name. David? I think it's David. It was David's intervention to go back. And they're like, we want to go to Red Peak and we want you to come with us. So, oh my goodness. Like, this new cult has come out from this old cult, but not like from people within that old cult, because, you know, everyone died. But just like, it became a cult through people trying to figure out what happened, like through like the news stories and things like that. So it's very interesting. And they've been talking about how they want to go back. Different characters have been talking about how they need to go back. They want to go back, but they're also kind of hesitant. And so, especially David. David does not want to go back. He does not want to remember this stuff. He wants to forget everything. And so I was trying to figure out, like, okay, how are they going to all get back there? And it makes sense. But if this new cult is, like, an actual thing and it, like, continues on, I feel like that can get really dark and twisted. And obviously, if they force him to go back to Red Peak and relive all this, we may get to fully unlock some more stuff. Okay. I need to know more. I need to know more. But there's a second cult, and it's getting good. I feel like with these vlogs, it's watch as my hair gets more and more questionable. But we're 68% of the way through. I thought, I'm pretty sure the last time I updated you is right after we met the new cult, and I was like super excited. I was like, oh, I could see all the possibilities coming out in front of us, but we've not really discussed any more of the cult. The cult, I thought, was gonna become like a catalyst. It's not. It's just like a fleeting thing. So we also haven't gone back to Red Peak. And part of me is starting to get like a little bit like antsy, like what's going on? I was expecting this book to be more like we're being put in precarious situations, we're experiencing paranormal things happening in the current, and it's driving us to think about our past. What is that? But it's not. It's not. It's just like we've been following more. In the beginning, we were more so following David, but now we're following more of Deacon, which he's the main character with a band, and he puts his emotions into his music and things like that. So we're more so following him in the current, and we're still getting like bits and pieces from the past. And I don't know, I was expecting us to be able to like, we're learning more about the past from the present and like uncovering things, but it's more so we're learning about the past through just going back to when they were kids, experiencing this for the first time. I thought I could figure out where this book was going, but I don't know where this is going. I don't know what's happening, and it's making me really antsy. I thought we were getting a new cult to follow, and we're not. And everything is so up in the air. I feel like everything I say in this update is gonna be like null and void in the next. Because I mean, that's what happened in the last one. So we'll see, I guess. I'm 82% of the way through the book. And all I can say is what? Excuse me? I don't understand. My brain hurts. I'm filming.
You don't want to tell me. I thought you were trying to talk to me. Okay, well, let me know when you're done.
Okay, well, I am done. What did I just read? Like, what? Ugh. My brain hurts so much. My brain hurts so much. I finished the book, but I've just been sitting here in silence, trying to process what I just read. I feel like I'm gonna need to like, it's not like it's confusing. It's not like I'm like, actually like, what did I read? But it's more like, that was real. That's what happened. And it's just processing that it was real. Like, the cult wasn't crazy. The cult wasn't just some man who was manipulating a bunch of people to have power and control over them. Like, that's... And I guess I should not be too surprised that there was actual, like, stuff going on and not just, like, human manipulation. Because in the other book I've read by this author, Suffer the Children, it had like supernatural elements. Like the kids in that book were vampires of a sense, and they were doing these things, and like this supernatural stuff that couldn't really be explained was happening. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but also like I've never read a cult book where, specifically like a religious cult. I've sat here just trying to figure out how I'm gonna like talk about this. I still don't know. It was so good. It was so good. It wasn't what I was expecting, or it wasn't what I was really like envisioning when I first stepped into the book. But I'm also not disappointed. I'm perfectly content with this book, like the way that I wanted it to go. It didn't go. All I can say is that I was super excited for it. I knew it was going to be good, and I was right. I was so right. Okay. I'm going to put a spoiler thing on here, because I feel like that's the only way I can talk about it. So if you do care, skip to where there's no big spoiler on the screen. But if you don't care, we can continue talking about it. So it starts to like truly describe like what happened on the last night, and they were taking parts off of their body, the parts that had sinned and things like that, and their leader essentially died just like Jesus did in the Bible. But he didn't just like in the Bible, Jesus died on the cross, you know, he died there. But in this one, they started with the cross, and then they added fire for him to actually go. So that's horrifying. Ugh. And then all the bodies, after they've self-exited, they literally just start floating and flying up the mountain towards I don't know if it's God or if it's another God, or the person they were following, the person they were worshiping, you know. They're just unalive bodies are floating and flying up the mountain and disappearing into a giant red light that is shooting up into the sky out of the mountain. And then in the future, or in the current timeline, when they go back, they talk to God or whoever it is. They talk to him, and he's like, yeah, I'm real. Yeah. It was all true. They're fine. They're happy. And so then they get the option to like float and go into the light. And 2 of them take it, 2 of them don't. Like 4 of them go in total. 2 take, 2 don't. And it's just very... Oh, and the other cult, the cult that I was like, oh, that's going to be a big part of this book. I'm super excited. This is how it's going to go. Their bodies apparently floated into and up into a red light in the mountain and disappeared. So, you know, it was all real. It wasn't manipulation. And I don't know how to feel about that. I think the fact that it is real makes it all the more horrifying and all the more disturbing and kind of disgusting. Personally, I grew up extremely religious, but that is no longer the case. I have deconstructed, as you would say. And I think if they were like, this is true, this is the proof, because of what they had to go through to ascend and to be pure enough to go into heaven, essentially, because of how horrific that was and how they were like essentially putting children through that as well. Like, I don't think I could ever be on board with any religion, even if they had 100% concrete proof like this that it's real. I don't know. It's just a lot to think about, a lot to unpack. Stuff for the Children is one of those books that I constantly think about all the time, and now Children of Red Peak is going to be doing the same. What did I just read? So the third book we're reading is Counterfeit, and I'm 34% of the way through it so far. I'm really enjoying it. Pretty much the whole premise is two women are caught counterfeiting designer bags, and it reminds me a lot of the Reese Witherspoon movie with the coupons. I believe it's called Queen Pins or something like that. But it's just reminding me of that, because in that movie they're counterfeiting coupons and selling them and things like that. But our main character is essentially telling the story of what happened and how she got wrapped up all into this mess to a detective. So it's very much giving the vibe of we're the detective, and, you know, I guess that's kind of true. I'm trying to uncover and figure out what's going on. Not necessarily to find justice and right the wrongs, but more so to find enjoyment. But so far, this detective is finding a lot of enjoyment. So I'm very interested to see how this turns out, because like our main character is just, she's so, it's kind of impressive how she got wrapped up into this and she doesn't want to be, but yet she could be taking the fall for all this. So hopefully they get all that figured out, because I'd feel really bad if her life is ruined because she got wrapped up in this mess. I'm 64% of the way through Counterfeit, and so far the story has just been Ava's POV, the main character that we first started out with, just been one POV. But now 64% of the way through, it's now like swapped to Winnie's POV, which is the other person. Winnie was being portrayed as like the one who was like getting Ava into all of this, and like she was the real mastermind and things like that. But now there's like a few tweaks to the story. Like essentially they're saying the same story, but there's just a few tweaks that makes Winnie's POV different. That is truly having me question, okay, what's going on here? What is happening? It makes me want to put my detective cap on for real, and not just for like entertainment, but to actually try to figure out who's telling the truth, who's lying, because this is not looking good for Ava. Ava is looking more and more like a liar. But I don't know if we're like forever in Winnie's POV now, or if we're going to be going back and forth so far between them from now on. But right now Winnie is making this very interesting, and it's I need to get back to reading it. My hair was bothering me, even my bangs, so I have to have a really high bun so I can fit my bangs into my like to pull them back. So it looks a little ridiculous, but I just needed my hair out of my face. What we're actually here to talk about is I finished Counterfeit, and that was such a good book. Oh my goodness. So we've read 3 books so far. The first one was okay. It was fine. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. Kind of a meh book. But then Children of Red Peak, amazing book. And this one, amazing book. So I feel like some of the things I said in the first recap looks silly now that I know everything that happened. Oh my goodness. This story was, oh, you have to read it. You have to. Like, even if I was to explain it to you, just like the writing and like how I got so invested in that story. Like, it was one of the stories where like I thought I was watching a movie. That's how like vivid and like put together this was. Like, I thought I was watching a movie in my head. And like, even if I'm to describe it to you, you're not going to be able to get that feel, and you need to. So like, you gotta read this book. And like, the things that happen, like the twists, they're not like huge twists, but they are kind of like, okay. So obviously I gave this book 5 stars. Obviously. Kirstin Chen did an amazing job writing this book. Like, I need to know. Hold on, let me look up just what other stuff have they written. Okay, so we got some other things. Soy Sauce for Beginners. We've got Bury What We Cannot Take. And then Koizora, a thriller. Don't know if I said that right. And then we have some others that look like it's like short story novels or like short stories. I don't know, but I need to read more from this author. I need to. I have no interest in luxury handbags. They just don't interest me, but counterfeiting them and like how big the scheme got, it's just truly impressive and like super interesting. And I kind of want to reread it. I know I just read it, but I kind of want to read it again. We finished our 3rd book, and so far the C's are killing it. We have 1 more book to read, and that's Crying in H Mart. So hopefully we can end this on a high note, and the C's can just be A tier instead of C tier. So I finished reading Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I didn't update you while I was reading it, mainly because I didn't know how to update you. So if you don't know what Crying in H Mart is, it's a nonfiction book that's essentially a memoir focusing on her grief after losing her mom and like the process of it all. And it goes deep. It goes into the weeds of, like, we learn the entire story from when her mom is first diagnosed with cancer all the way to the end of her mom's life and what happens after. And it is very emotional. I cried multiple times. And so I didn't know how to update you because I'd just be like either crying or I'd be like, this is rough, but it's good. So we're just here at the end. It's always difficult to rate memoirs because you're like, I'm gonna give this memoir that's about your life. I'm gonna rate your life 3 stars or 2 stars or 5 stars. And it's a little weird, but the enjoyment of the book and like the writing and everything, it's a 4-star book. So it's a little weird because it's a memoir, but for the sake of Storygraph, and I don't need to put a rating, but I'm going to, and it's gonna be 4 stars. The time whenever she's like talking about like her mom in the last days and that little bit after, oh, that was so rough to listen to. You could feel the pain, like you could feel all the emotions throughout this book. And one thing I appreciate about crying in H Mart is that she doesn't shy away from like being like, oh, my mom was great all the time, never had any issues. Like she doesn't, her mom is not a good person or a bad person. Her mom is a person and hangs out and lives in the gray, and she is not a good person or a bad person. She lives in the gray, and it's very evident that she still loves her parents, but there is moments of mistakes. There's moments of things that probably could have been handled better, but it doesn't take away from the love and the grief and all this stuff. So I do really appreciate that it was very nuanced and very humanizing, essentially. It was such a good book. And with that, we ended on a high note. The only book that was kind of meh was the first book. All the other ones were amazing. So like, I think the C's, I'll put up the average of my star ratings of all these books on the screen, but I'm pretty sure this one is the highest average rating out of A, B, and C's that we've read so far. So I'm pretty happy with that. It was pretty good. I'm kind of surprised. Not that the books were good, but like that like we had so many like bangers from just like pulling them out of a cup, like just randomly, you know? I feel like I could probably get pretty high ratings on all of the alphabet reading vlogs if I picked them, because I could just go for the ones that, you know, I'm gonna wanna read and like think I will love, which they're on my TBR, so I kinda already feel that way, but I've had my TBR for a long time. Some of these books I put on a while ago. Some of them I've put on recently, and like tastes change, so I think I need to do a TBR cleanup. I can't wait to see what books I'm gonna be reading for the D's, especially since now that like we had such good books for this reading vlog. I'm excited to see what we're gonna be reading for the next letter of the alphabet, so you'll have to stick around and find out about that later. We also have a lot more other exciting videos that I'm working on. Lots of reading is going on, not just the alphabet vlogs. So if you're interested in coming on this reading journey with me, hanging out with me, and being a part of this bookish discussion, definitely click the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye!